Welcome once again to How to Relate to Anyone. Here is Dr. Orv Owens.
Well, here we go again. I want to continue from where we left off because we're looking at personality and now presence, and then we're going to look at performance now and then presence in the next session. And all of these are outward expressions of subconscious attitudinal beliefs. The things you believe you can do, you do in performance, in personality, and in presence. And you'll understand all that a little better when you hear the presence presentation, which is next week's lesson. But the power of the subconscious mind is so great that whatever you put your mind to do, you can do. The limitation is dedication, stick-to-itiveness, and that's a big one, because most people try once, twice, or 3 times for good measure and then give up, when in fact, anything that has been successful, any person who has created something, it took trying and trying some more and then trying, sometimes 10 years working on a project till it finally comes and people say, wow, isn't that fantastic? I'd like to do that. No, you wouldn't. You don't have the patience to do the 10 years. You can't just make it happen. It happens over a period of time as you develop the skill level, develop the technique, develop the knowledge, trial and error, make the mistakes, and then make the corrections. The big question is, are you making corrections or are you identifying with the mistakes? Well, we're going to talk about performance today. We talked about personality. Your outward expression of inner attitudes is your personality, and it's something that you can polish, hone, develop. It's all in your hands, but you have to work at it. You have to read a little bit, think a little bit, listen to people like me. I tell you, you can do it, sick 'em. Same thing with performance. You have the natural abilities to do just about anything you can imagine. Now, turning natural abilities into capabilities is the chore, is what takes the dedication. Takes some education in many cases. It takes a whole lot of making mistakes and making corrections. It takes coaching. I've found that no matter what you try doing, there's somebody who knows how to do it. And in most cases, I've found those people tend to be open to helping you learn what you need to know to achieve what you want to achieve in your life. And my dad wanted to build a house, and he wanted to have the house paid for when he finished. When he drove the last nail, he owned the house. And he did it. Nobody told him he couldn't, or if somebody did, he didn't listen to him because he did it. And it's been true with everything you have done in your life, everything you have achieved, every goal you have reached. Every accomplishment was a matter of mindset first, a belief that you could do it, and then staying with it until you get it done. And that has everything to do with your relationships with other people, including your spouse or children and family members. You can get along with anybody. I have people that most people hate. They just don't like them. They're kind of rough on the edges, and they say stuff that's put down stuff. And, you know, what I realize is that they evidently have such a negative attitude about themselves that they have to put me down to build themselves up. So I help them. I say, you're fantastic. You do all of that? Wow, that is something else. And I'm sincere in that because they do great and wonderful things that I don't do. But nobody tells them that, so they have to tell themselves that or brag about it. Anybody who brags is simply a person who has done some things and nobody's noticed, nobody's given any recognition. So they give recognition to themselves. That's what bragging's all about. People who get recognition for doing something don't have to brag. That makes sense? So don't look down your nose at somebody who brags. Just understand they're starving for recognition. Be a nice guy. Give them some recognition. It doesn't cost you anything. Just a few words is normally enough. I've encouraged people over the years by simply saying, you know, I don't know anybody who can do that as well as you do. And I only do that when I mean it. But nobody else tells them that. I find very few people give sincere, positive compliments. Very few people. They're more concerned about what you're going to think about me. So you say, yeah, I just climbed Mount Pilchuck. That's one of the mountains here in the Northwest. Oh, that's good. I'm going to climb Rainier myself. It's quite a bit larger. A lot of people like that. Just have to do one-upmanship. You know why they do one-upmanship? Because nobody's given them recognition for their performance. I think as a manager, you need to give recognition to your employees just for showing up, first of all, and then doing what you ask them to do. I mean, that's what they're getting paid for. Why do I have to keep telling them how great they are? Because they'll be greater if you tell them. They'll stretch to meet your expectations. They'll go way beyond what you ask them to do if you give them recognition. Because after all is said and done, we perform for an audience. Nobody performs for themselves. So, creative people create things, do things, and you get recognition for that. And they're not begging for recognition, but they're doing things for recognition. You like to know people appreciate things you do for them. You like to know that people appreciate that quilt you made, or whatever your creativity is. I have a very creative guy right behind this camera that I'm looking into, and he does all kinds of creativity with his cameras. He and his wife work as a team, and they do all kinds of things. Are they appreciated? Well, they get paid for doing it. But I don't know how many people, besides handing them a check, say, you guys did a fantastic job. Well, they've done a great job for us, and they're part of our organization now, and leaning heavy on their expertise. And this is true with our whole organization. We have people who have expertise, can do things that I can't do, know what I don't know, and lean on them heavy. Performance is an expression of your creativity, your personage, your being. You were created to be creative. And the more creative you are, the greater your performance in every area of your life. So it's vitally important that you put yourself out there. You have the physical skills to do things that other people can't do or aren't doing. Those things you have been given to you, and you either use them or let them lie dormant. Every skill we have has to be developed into a productive unit in our thinking and in our actions and reactions. You don't just Learn, you just don't just do it, you have to work at doing it. It's a process. And in that process, you find the pleasure of seeing things come together. Wow, that's working. Hey, look at this. So your performance is governed by your attitude, and it's also destroyed. Your creativity is destroyed. Your performance is destroyed by your attitude. So you need to do attitude checks. I have found that launching out in something, everybody has creative ideas. You've had creative ideas over the years. How many people take their creative ideas and do something with it is really the question. But I have found that a high level of performance by people started with a creative idea that developed into a work situation where they had to cross some T's, dot some I's, had to dig some ditches or polish something or whatever. Something had to be done to get there. When I paint a painting, I don't paint a painting in a half an hour. I'm not that good of an artist, frankly. I have to work at it for weeks because I do it on a part-time basis. I'll splash paint around, and if I don't like it, I'll paint right over it. That's what you can do with oils. Very forgiving. But I find great pleasure in seeing something come together on the canvas that wasn't there a little while ago. Now all of a sudden it's a picture. And you have things like that in your own life. How much are you honing your talents, using them, putting yourself out there so that you might get some rejection? As a public speaker, I've had some strong comments made to me about my speaking. And of course, I accept that just as their attitude, their thought process, and their problem. I had a lady recently tell me that I use too much psychology in what I'm teaching. I say, okay, that's probably a compliment. And she said, and walked away. I don't care what you do, you're going to get some criticism. There's just people who live to put down others because they feel they're building themselves up by putting you down. It doesn't really make sense because they don't really build themselves up. They just destroy themselves in your estimation, and anybody standing around, nobody likes a critic. Nobody likes to be criticized. I met a lady who's been blind since birth, and she has the ability to create images that she has never seen herself. She's a public speaker, and she creates these beautiful scenarios, and you'd say, just pure imagination, because she hasn't seen any of that stuff. She's not seen a sunset. She's not seen a big evergreen tree. She's never seen the Grand Canyon or whatever. Performance is not based upon natural talent or natural abilities. It's based upon developing natural abilities into capabilities. The more you develop your own personal abilities into capabilities, the abilities can lie dormant for a lifetime. It's a shame to die with all this natural ability and never use it. I have a friend in Florida, Paul's his name, and Paul had this dream. He called it a vision, but it was at night, so it was a dream. And he went to heaven, and Gabriel met him at the gate and took him into the streets of gold, and And he said, I want to show you something. And he took him to this warehouse where all these things were there. Beautiful vases and lamps and furniture and all kinds of, just blow your mind, all of the beautiful things in that warehouse. And Paul said to Gabriel in his dream, what is this? What is all this? Well, this is all the stuff that you could have built if you would have tried. Think of how many lives you would have touched by being creative, by simply performing up to your potential. Being a performer rather than a viewer of. Some people just sit back and view. What's going to happen next? Well, I don't know, but let's watch. And then there's those who make things happen. They are performers, and being a performer, they work at turning natural abilities into capabilities on a day-by-day, moment-by-moment basis. Any problem that comes your way, there's a creative way to conquer the problem. Just depends on how creative you are. It's interesting to me to watch carpenters. My number 2 son is a finishing carpenter, and he owns a company, and they take wood and turn it into a beautiful home, and brick and all the other stuff. And I look at these places that he's created, and he has a partner who's a design guy, and they design and build custom homes for people. $1 million, $500,000 and a half type homes. Beautiful things. And you walk through and you say, wow, ooh, wow. How did he do that? Well, when he was 12 years old, he got his own bedroom. We moved to a place out in the country, and he got his own bedroom. And he redecorated that bedroom, I don't know, about once a week, I guess. He was painting things on the walls and then painting over that, and something happening every week. He's been creative since he's a little teeny guy. And one Christmas, he created a Christmas wreath. The wreath was 10 feet from top to bottom. It covered we had one of those ceilings that goes up 2 stories. It covered a whole wall. This big wreath he made out of pine leaves or pine boughs from the woods that's on our property there. Came home and this big wreath hanging on the wall. I mean, I'd never seen anything like it. Creativity. You don't know what you can do until you put your foot out there and take the first step. But I will tell you something, if you're going to be a producer, if you're going to be a performer, if you're going to be a do type person, you're going to have to put yourself out there and take risk. The risk is maybe what I try isn't going to work the first time. Maybe it's going to look bad. Maybe I'm going to paint a painting that nobody likes. I mean, there's plenty of critics in the world, and if you listen to the critics, other than if they help you, that's great, but if they're just putting you down for putting you down's sake, if you listen to them and let them bother you, they'll stop your progression and your personal growth and personal development. I've been around for a lot of years. Had a lot of people tell me you can't do that. You can't do that. Who do you think you are doing that? I wanted to sing in a quartet, gospel quartet, like the Oak Ridge Boys. And nobody invited me. So I formed my own quartet, and we traveled all over the country and sang with the Oak Ridge Boys in several concerts. You don't know what you can do until you do it. But I'll guarantee you, if you don't try, you never will. Well, as a manager, you can cause people to stretch to meet your expectations, and they start performing up to your expectations. As a salesperson, you can increase your closing ratio by believing you can. So, my challenge to you is fill your subconscious mind full of positives that cause you to perform up to the level of your own personal expectations, or maybe even exceeding them. Write me a letter and tell me what you created that you had never tried before, and now there it is. I'd love to hear from you.